Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're raising a neurodivergent child, maybe you're navigating ADHD or autism, you already know that standard, run-of-the-mill parenting advice usually just falls completely flat. It doesn't fit what your family actually needs. Well, today, we are skipping the abstract theory. We're going to break down a concrete, step-by-step daily blueprint based on 19 proven, highly effective tips. We're going to focus really intensely on building actionable routines and proactive behavior management strategies that will genuinely work for your household. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our 5-step roadmap for today. We'll start with the authoritative parenting balance, then move into designing the daily routine, driving positive behaviors, navigating the tough moments, and finally, leading by example. Let's get to work building your toolkit. Starting right off with Section 1, the authoritative parenting balance. Because parenting a neurodivergent kid takes a specialized toolkit, and getting this foundation right is exactly where everything else begins.
So what is authoritative parenting? Well, it is definitely not about being an unbending dictator, and it's certainly not about being a total pushover either. It's actually this really specific, research-backed sweet spot. It perfectly balances high warmth and deep connection with very clear limits and expectations. Experts note that for kids with ADHD, learning disorders, or other neurodivergent conditions, applying this specific blend and doing it consistently over a long period of time is absolutely crucial for their overall development.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, designing the daily routine. You see, before we can even think about managing behaviors, we have to build a highly predictable physical and temporal environment for your child. There are 3 fundamental steps to getting this structure locked in. Step 1, consistent schedules for the basics, like sleep and meals. Poor sleep hygiene just makes it incredibly hard for a neurodivergent child to regulate their emotions. Step 2, use visual checklists to help them navigate their routines completely independently. And Step 3, honestly, this one is an absolute game changer. Provide 10, 5, and 1-minute transition warnings. If your kid is deeply engrossed in something they love, say playing video games, and it's time for homework, these countdown warnings are vital. They ground your child, they reduce the anxiety, and they significantly bring down the temperature during what could otherwise be a really heated transition.
And it's not just about managing the clock. It's about managing the space and the screens. You really want to carve out dedicated, distraction-free workspaces. Get rid of the clutter so they can actually focus. It is also critical to establish strict digital curfews. Think no tablets an hour before bed, or keeping the dinner table entirely screen-free to avoid arguments. Oh, and here is a fantastic pro tip straight from the research. Offer choices within your established framework. So instead of a command, ask them, hey, it's homework time. Do you want to start with math or writing? It's such a simple choice, but it cuts right through their resistance, builds up their sense of autonomy, and hey, the task still gets done.
Okay, let's jump into Section 3, driving positive behaviors. Now that our daily environment is fully structured, we can shift gears into proactive behavior management. And I want you to think about your child's behavior using a garden metaphor.
Think of it exactly like this. Praise acts as the sunshine and the fertilizer that positive behaviors need to bloom. Without specific, totally sincere praise, the weeds, those undesired, disruptive behaviors, are going to quickly overtake the whole garden. The reality is, neurodivergent kids often receive a ton of negative feedback throughout their day. You have to actively counteract that. You do this by providing massive amounts of verbal praise and high fives the absolute second you see a behavior you want to encourage.
And this perfectly illustrates how the way we script our directions is just incredibly powerful. The golden rule here is simple. Tell, don't ask. Instead of saying, "Can you sit down?" which literally invites them to just say no, you say, "Please sit down." Instead of focusing on the negative and yelling, "Stop running," reframe it to exactly what you want them to do. "Please walk." You want to give one specific direction at a time, especially if your child struggles with working memory. Just keep it clear and always phrase it as a positive.
Another highly actionable, totally brilliant tool is the when-then statement. When you finish your dinner, then you will get dessert. Or, when you pick up your toys, then we can head to the park. It is so simple, it's completely non-negotiable, and it strongly motivates desired behaviors without turning the whole thing into a massive argument.
Now, obviously, when-then statements rely heavily on effective rewards, and there are some strict rules of engagement here if you actually want that behavior to stick. First off, rewards must be genuinely motivating. You need to collaborate with your child to find a mix of material things and privileges that they actually care about. Second, they have to be immediate, consistent, and achievable.
And this last part is absolutely crucial. They must be contingent. That means the behavior absolutely has to happen before they get the reward. No giving them the reward first with some vague promise that they're going to do the chore later. No way.
Which brings us to Section 4, navigating the tough moments. Look, no matter how much sunshine and fertilizer we use in our garden, we are still going to have to occasionally prune the bad. Meltdowns and tough moments are entirely inevitable, and we have to approach them with a lot of empathy. So I want to pose this directly to you. How do we handle the inevitable misbehavior? When those boundaries are crossed, what is our immediate troubleshooting plan? Let's talk about how to de-escalate. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the profound difference between validating and fixing. When your teenager says they're furious they can't go out, validating sounds like, I know it feels super unfair that your friends get to stay out. It shows you actually hear them, and it instantly takes the edge off. Fixing, on the other hand, is when they tell you they are worried about a math test and you immediately jump in with, oh, you're going to do great on the test. While you mean well, jumping in to instantly fix the problem can actually invalidate their very genuine nervousness. We have to actively listen first.
And when behaviors do start to escalate, you want to guide yourself through this framework. Step 1, literally just ignore minor misbehavior, like whining or purposeful annoyance. Paying attention to whining only reinforces it. Just wait for them to stop and then praise their patience. Step 2, teach adaptive coping skills. Things like deep breathing, counting to 10, or just stepping away. Give them the actual physical tools to handle their discomfort. And Step 3, use clearly defined consequences sparingly, but apply them consistently. When a rule is broken, the consequence has to be super specific. Say something like, pushing your sibling is not allowed, instead of a vague, stop bothering your sibling. And make sure that consequence happens immediately.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, leading by example. This is really the climax of our explainer, because this is where we pivot the lens completely away from the child's behavior and shine it right back onto you, the caregiver.
Let me gently challenge you with a question here. Do you check your emails at the dinner table, even though you have a strict no phones rule for the family? Kids are just incredibly observant. They pick up on exactly what we actually do, not just what we say we do. If we want them to follow digital curfews, regulate their big emotions, and show respect, well, it is far more likely to happen if they see us actually practicing what we preach and actively modeling those exact same behaviors.
And honestly, it goes way deeper than just following the basic household rules. Do you have routines and healthy coping skills for yourself? When you get into a conflict, are you using I feel statements, or are you throwing out blaming you statements? You have to show your child what it actually looks like to wait to talk about difficult subjects until you've calmed down. Showing them how you manage your own stress effectively and practice self-care, that is literally the most powerful lesson they could ever get.
So I want to leave you with this lingering, kind of provocative thought to chew on. How are you attending to your own emotional well-being? You simply cannot pour from an empty cup. To be the authoritative, warm, and structured anchor that your neurodivergent child needs, you have got to prioritize your own emotional health too. Take a moment today to reflect on your own routines. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Now go out there, take care of yourself, and start building that blueprint.